Hello, I've been travelling through Europe, 5 countries in 18 days. This is the third part of this series, so if you haven't watched the previous 2 videos, you might want to go and watch those first. I'm keeping a travel journal in a sketchbook, and the process has been changing as I've been making this journey. We've been travelling by train, we've been backpacking, so there are various limitations on what we're doing, and I've been trying to keep up with my journal in the evenings and on the trains and sketching outside whenever I can during the day. I'm currently in Odense in Denmark, and this is the birthplace and home of Hans Christian Andersen. And we're going to be going on today to Copenhagen and then on to Sweden for the final part of our journey. So watch along, see how we get on this leg. And if you want to see the finished journal, I'll be sharing that at the end of this video. We just had that morning in Odense. I didn't really feel like it was enough time. I would have really loved to visit Hans Christian Andersen's house, but we only really saw the shop and the outside. So we were straight on the train then to Copenhagen, and I was able to get some of the Germany pages worked on in my journal. I found it quite tricky quite often to actually work on the train, but this was a really nice train. This one had a lovely table that made it easy, and I was able to get on with my fine liner and work on these pages from Heidelberg. The Heidelberg trip was in the previous video. So I was able to really get into this one just that little bit more before we finally arrived at Copenhagen. Good morning from Sweden. I'm waiting on the train platform after yoga. I'm not in jail. It's been really beautiful here so far. It's quite an interesting country. Everything seems very organised, like the bike lanes and where the traffic goes and the junctions. I know it all sounds very transporty, but that really strikes me as being so different from the UK. So I went off to yoga this morning, and it's the first time I've had a decent practice for a while, so that was wonderful. Last night we stayed in these beautiful circus wagons. It was kind of like a campsite, but all of the tents were wagons instead, which was really, really fun. And I had the wonderful experience of listening to a thrush nightingale for half an hour, singing its heart out in the middle of the night. And that is really worth waking up for. Now we're spending the day here in Malmo. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. And then we go on to Lund, and then finally to Stockholm, where we're spending our last 4 or 5 days. didn't get much sketching done while in Copenhagen or in Malmo. There was just too much to see, and we were so busy exploring. Also in the evening in Malmo, because we were staying in the wagons, there wasn't really much room for doing any drawing in the evenings. But I made up for that when we arrived in Lund. We had a really nice hotel, probably one of the nicest hotels we stayed in throughout the whole trip. And I decided that I would spend some time working into the Heidelberg pages in colour that particular evening and really trying to catch up a little bit in the journal. Tell me what you think about Lund. There you go. Proof that it's called Yahtzee. Yahtzee. Today we've come to the Botanical Garden of Lund University in the centre of Lund. It's really, really beautiful, this garden, and I'm hoping to get a little bit of painting done here. Rather than paint, I've actually decided to draw and go straight in with my coloured pencils really, really quickly. I think that's because it's such beautiful weather, the sun's shining. I kind of don't want to waste time with painting. It sort of feels like I'm not going to be able to get the level of detail that I'd like to. So really, really quick coloured pencil work will get the vibrancy without having to spend a lot of time on livening up all my Inktense colours. I've been painting and drawing an awful lot with the Inktense and the marker pens on this trip, so it's quite nice to go in with some quick coloured pencil from the get-go this time. There's actually red squirrels here as well, we've just seen one. Apparently they're quite common here in Sweden, but at home in the UK they've been decimated by the diseases carried by the grey squirrels. I do have a bit of a technique for working outside quickly with coloured pencils. I'll take one colour at a time and just really quickly scribble down blocks that I can see of each of the colours that I've got with me. It leads to a kind of interesting patchy sort of look in the final drawing, and it really speeds you up. You just have to go looking for each individual colour in the landscape and just try and position it on the page. I only have a limited number of different coloured pencil colours with me, so I can only do this for these colours, and what I'm going to build is something quite creative within this limited palette of colours. Although I'm limited on different colours, you can see here I use different shapes and marks to show different types of plants and different facets of the landscape here. If you'd like to learn from me, remember you can do that at www.naturejournalingcircle.com. I've got a membership there where I teach on Zoom once a month, and there's a whole library of the previous classes. Plus there's some classes available for sale separately too. After our day in Lund, we had a long train journey to get up to Stockholm. This was the longest train journey of our entire trip. It took about 5 hours and then we were delayed for an extra 45 minutes, so it ended up taking nearly 6 hours to get to Stockholm. But the trains were very comfortable and I decided to spend the time working on the day in Lund because it was so fresh in my mind. I actually stuck in the image that I painted earlier in the garden and then decided to fill in the page around it. Here I'm using the marker pens. This is one of the things that ended up happening quite a lot towards this later stage of the journey. I realised that I was probably not going to keep up with trying to catch up with the earlier parts, and I thought, well, I might as well leave those for home and instead spend a train journey working on the page for the day that I'd just experienced. It felt a lot fresher, and I kind of just really enjoyed drawing of something that was still very fresh in the mind. Now, this train journey was really long and kind of tiring, but I took it in little chunks. I would draw or paint for about an hour and then read a book or look out the window and relax. And eventually, we made it to our final destination, Stockholm. Once again, I didn't get much sketching done on our very first day in Stockholm, or in fact through most of the rest of the trip. We met up with our friends who live in Stockholm, and we were gifted a tour of all of the things to see in the city with our friend. I spent most of the time just really taking it in, and that kind of did get in the way of the sketching quite a bit. But it was all memories that would all end up in the sketchbook later on. This second day, we decided to really focus on shopping, and we went around the shops and looked around the city a little bit more. I was really taken with how beautiful the underground train stations were. They had art exhibits everywhere, and the actual walls were all painted with murals. In the evenings, I did my best to catch up through the journal. I was working on the pages for Malmö and for Stockholm. Like I said before, I found it easier to just focus on the things that I had actually been seeing that day. A lot of the pages just hadn't got finished, particularly in the busier period like Odense and Copenhagen here. But I was making progress, and I had managed to finish this page for Lund. There was a few pages left to go, more adventures to fill. I used the back pages of the journal to fill with all of these little bits and bobs, like a little scrapbook of the places we went. But little did I know that my favourite day of the entire holiday was yet to come, and the next day when we visited the Stockholm archipelago. That was the end of our holiday. We flew back from Stockholm to London the next day. This is at the airport. I just quickly wanted to give you a flip through of the journal as it stands at the end of the holiday. So you'll see that there's plenty of spaces. There's lots of pages that I didn't get finished and some that I barely even started. But everything was mapped out. I'd kept the records of the actual trip and I had started the scrapbook at the back of the journal. So I had everything ready. I had all of the photos on my phone, and it didn't take me long when getting back home to then work into the pages and get everything finished off. So I was working in the studio and I was working in the journal when I was stewarding our exhibition, which you'll see in the next video. But it all got done in the end within the space of a month after coming home. Now I just want to show you the final journal. I really hope you enjoy it. If you'd like to see the pages in a little bit more detail, you can do that by going to my website. They're all in the gallery, and that's linked in the description below. For now, thank you so much for watching this travel series. I really hoped you enjoy it, and I hope to be able to travel and sketch much more in the future. If you'd like to make travel journal pages like these, I have a special class on that, which I'll also link in the description. It's available separately or as a part of the Nature Journaling Circle membership. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.